Well, it's dark outside and it's also freezing cold, but fortunately we are working under cover today. This is obviously a mobile job, it can't be driven anywhere, and I also live miles away. This is my dad's house. So it's just me and the dogs this morning, wherever Jessie's gone, and this nice figure over as well. She needs some TLC at some point as well. So I've got my axle stands in place. I've got two of them. One of them will actually be on the frame of the car, the other one will be near it, kind of as a bit of a fail-safe. And I'm going to leave the jack in place underneath this diff, but I'm going to let the axle stand take most of the weight. These 4x4s are bleeding heavy, so you do not want one to fall on you. So you can see here that just where the hard line goes into the engine bay area through the wheel arch, it is completely rotted out up top there, snapped in half, so that is no good. So we will be replacing this section here of the brake line, but in order to get to it we're going to remove the coolant expansion tank for two reasons, which I'll show you now. So because of where the brake is, I'm just going to take the whole hard line out and do it out of the car, because it would be a nightmare to get the tool down there, unless I can bend it out of the way without damaging it, which I might try. But in any case, this coolant expansion tank is in the way, and it needs a good clean anyway, because as you can see, it's quite sludged up in there. It's only a little bit on the top though. This has just got straight water in it, which is no bueno. It had a pretty savage leak, so while they were finding it, they were just topping it up with water. Then the brake pipe went, so it's been sat. So we'll take this out and give that a clean at the same time. Again, so this little coolant pipe here at the back has got to come off. Just give that a little twist. There you go, that's out of the way now. And now I may try and leave these two here on. I might have to take them off anyway. It looks like there's one at the bottom as well, which looks like a bit of a pig, because the whole reservoir will just empty out. But in order to get anywhere near any of that, I need to take out these two bolts here, which look like 10s. And there we go. Get down into here with our ratchet. That broke loose extremely easily. Brilliant. Those are both broken loose so easily that I think they might just come out by hand. And they will. Okay, I'm going to get two hands on those just to wind them out. They're pretty easy. So at the back of the expansion tank, there is one little bolt hiding down there, which is a 13mm holding the back to the firewall. And I've got down there with a deep socket 13, a universal joint, one of my long 3/8 extensions, and we will see if this one here wants to come loose or not. Yes. No problems there. And then this should, yeah, that's good. So that should gradually come more and more loose. Trying to drop the bolt into the engine bay. Well, it's actually a nut on a little stud, which hopefully I'll be able to show you in just a moment. So this is the little plastic bit that goes on the side of the reservoir, which bolts it on, which you have to take off to get to that little hose clamp underneath there. And obviously there's just these couple little bayonet clips that go up through there, so it's really tight. You just need to get some pliers around that little hose clamp, get it off, take the hose off. There's also a coolant, I think it's like a coolant level sensor or temperature sensor. No, it's probably a level sensor underneath this reservoir well, which you need to unplug. So I ended up having to do a little bit of a concoction because the hose clamp was on a funny angle, so I've lifted up the top of the airbox so that I could get in underneath the reservoir to get the angle on the tool so that I could remove that hose clamp just there, just to slide that down, so that I could push that pipe there off of here. Now, let's try and do this one-handed. This sensor here has a little clip on the back that you pull. There you go. So there's a little sensor here, and you basically just push up on this little tab at the back like that, and then this sensor comes out here, and it's just got this one of the coolant line on the back, which is a Jubilee clip. I might actually put Jubilee clip back on now because it's just so much easier to get off. And now I have access to, oh baby, ouch. Okay, well, we'll get that sorted now. So you can see in there that it's properly filthy. I know to some people this might look like coolant mixing with oil. This is just crap, basically, from a disgusting cooling system that's never been cleaned and has run water for ages. Not good. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to give that a good flush through, give the Jeep a good flush through, put some actual coolant in it. Well, actually I might fill it up with water first, just run it up to temp to see if there's any leaks. And if there's no leaks, then I'll just be draining it again and putting some coolant in it. This is quite an old system, so it just takes 50-50 antifreeze and water. Nasty, innit? So step one for me is to just cut it where it's damaged, and then that gives me enough room to bend it out of the way so that I can use my pipe cutter on it to cut them back to something good. And then get my flaring tool in there to flare one end and mushroom the other end. Obviously, when you're doing it, which you'll see in a minute, you have to put on your compression joints first. Otherwise you'll have to cut off more pipe. Ask me how I know that. I've done it before, basically. Yeah, you just have to a little bit of forethought, and a little bit of care, and it'll be alright. Okay then. Okay, so once you've cut it and got it clean, what you do is put on your fitting. See, it's just loose back here. My fitting is just loose on there, and you have to put that on first. You can't put it on afterwards because you're about to flare this. If the reason why isn't obvious, it will be in a minute. And then what you do is you just slowly and gently wind this in, and it flares out the face of the brake pipe. I get so much of this rusty coolant all over my hands, it's unreal. So this is the tool set up to do the flaring. As you can see, it's got this little cap here, and it has a little recess in it, and as you tighten down the wind screw, it mushrooms the head, basically. Can you see how it's starting to mushroom there? That's exactly what we're after. So once the end is flared and the bit is on, it should look a little something like that. Now I need to do the other side, and then this section of brake pipe just needs to be bolted up and connected, and that's it. So it's washed up nice.
It's much better doing this rather than picking wing nuts.
Yeah.
So much.
Those wing nuts were ridiculous. You know, I reckon that was half the problem we had before, to be honest.
The mechanics just rip them off. Where's our flaring tool?
I don't know where you put it. Okay, so the new hardline is in place down here. And then what I've done up here is just basically cut, spliced and bent in new pieces, you know, basically where it needed it. I've already tested it, there are no hydraulic leaks, which is great. So all I need to do now is bleed the brakes and away she goes. So I left it last night overnight just to see if anything was dripping out, and that is the level that I left it at. So I'm quite confident that there's no leaks anywhere. So when bleeding these brakes on anything that's old, there's my bleed nipple there, and just underneath it is another bolt, which is for the brake line. If that rounds off, I just crack loose that nut to bleed it. You can't really bleed the brakes perfectly if you do it from the line, which is why it is not recommended. But having it, well, basically it'll make the car totally drivable, but it is not the preferred method. Always try the bleeder first, but in an emergency that's just a fail-safe backup to get you on the road. So I've tried all of the bleeders, but they're in Imperial and I've only got metric with me, and I can't get a good enough seal on it. Can't get enough purchase on it to break it loose. It would just definitely round. So I'm going with my emergency option, which is to bleed it at the line. Just gonna let it start gravity bleeding for now. Just break that one there. Loose, let it start gravity bleeding as well. And then we've got to go around to the front. And then we'll do the front. Cool. There we go. Break that loose so it's free. So because I'm on my own, I'm just basically letting it gravity bleed a little bit, because I can't do both. I can't press the pedal, watch this, and then go around and nip them all up really quickly. So I'm going with the slow method. So once you've gravity bled it, what I do is I go around one by one, starting from the rear on this side, then go to the front, and then go to the rear on this side, and then go to the front, and I just crack them loose. Press the brake pedal. Better if you have a second person for that, unless you have like a one-way valve on a line, so you can sort of like bleed out the fluid and then it reaches the one-way valve and stops. No air can go back in. That's fine if you're going to do it on your own. And then once it's bled, you just sort of crack it loose, push the brake pedal, squeeze out some fluid, pull it through, make sure there's no air, and that's it. Bob's your uncle.